Hi bookish besties. So this video has been like a year in the making. But anyway, I finished the what I think is the world's most popular fantasy series, and that is Throne of Glass. There's a lot of controversy on this series on like the reading order, because you can read the prequel, which is Assassin's Blade. You can read it first, third, or fourth. I read it third, and I don't think I would have enjoyed the series like I did had I read it first, because it is a prequel, so it's 5 short stories. I think it's 5. No, I don't think I would have gotten hooked and as interested had I read it first. I think I would have gotten a little bored and then not been sure if I wanted to continue the series. But having read it third, I knew the characters, I loved the characters, and I wanted to know more of the FMC's background. So I definitely would say to read it third, mainly because that's the way that SJM says it should be read. Like that's her advice, and I just felt like listening to the author's advice was paramount. Rated the entire series a 5 stars because, dear holy lord, it was the best thing I've ever read. And mind you, at the beginning of this year, I was not a fantasy reader, so I started with Fourth Wing, and that just got me interested quickly. And then after Fourth Wing, I went on to Acotar, and I enjoyed that series, but I found myself rushing through it needlessly, and so I didn't quite like it as much. And with Acotar, I feel like it is romance first, then fantasy plot. And with Throne of Glass, it is fantasy plot, world building first, and then you get your character stories and your romances and things like that. So the first book, 5 stars. I loved it. It was great. It was quick, simple. It was the shortest book. So you're starting off with Selena Sardothian, and she is the world's most like dangerous assassin. She's awesome. She really is. But she's 16, and you start off with her in prison. She's in the salt mine prisons. And so then, this is not spoiler because it's like the main beginning of the book. So the king, or I guess it's the king or the prince or something, orders her to come out of the salt mine prison in order to compete in a contest to be the king's personal hired assassin. So if she does that, whatever, she gets pardoned, all that. I don't know. But that's where you start out, and anything beyond that is sort of spoilers, so I won't go beyond that. But that right there is interesting as it is, and it just spirals from there. Heir of Fire was by far my favorite. Like, I loved the second book, but Heir of Fire solidified the series, and that is where I like fell head over heels, and I wanted to just devour the series. And Heir of Fire is kind of where a lot of people are like, that was hard for me, because you get so many POVs and it introduces so many new characters, because that's where things kind of go, they kind of really get started. And Tower of Dawn was my second favorite, and then of course Kingdom of Ash, which is, I only have this one and Tower of Dawn with me because I live in a camper and I don't have the room for all of them. But those were my favorite. And I will warn you, Kale, he's a character in the first book, so it's not any kind of spoiler or anything. A lot of people have trouble with Kale, and Tower of Dawn, that book is primarily his book. Like, it tells his story, and it gives him a big character arc. But don't dread that book because of that. And there's also a tandem read you can do with I think it's Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. I did not do the tandem read. I was afraid that I would feel drown in trying to read those 2 chunky books at once, so I didn't do the tandem read, and I found it fine. I found Empire of Storms to be a lot of action, and then Tower of Dawn was kind of a rest. It was very meaningful. It was a very emotional book. It was good. And then that preps you to go on into this, which is heart-wrenching, gutting. Like, it will take you out. But if you really like a lot of character arcs, and still having heavy plot and heavy world building without drowning the characters and their own emotions and their own story, then this series is for you. Because I can, some fantasy that I've read, the plot and what's happening around the characters kind of overshadows the characters, and that's not me. But the entire series is a 5 stars, and I think that you should read it. I think that everyone should read it, even if you don't like fantasy. I feel like this is the series, Fourth Wing, and then this is the series to absolutely make you fall head over heels for high fantasy.